The goal of this tutorial is to introduce to the basics of using Rational Publishing Engine to extract data from Rational ClearQuest and to create output documents that display the extracted data in a friendly way. Using Rational Publishing Engine, a template will be created and used for extracting the defects and the related information. The output document will contain a table displaying the list of all defects. The name of the ClearQuest project will be displayed both in the title page and in the header section of the output document. To create the RP template, we need to start the Document Studio component. To extract the desired data, we will use two data source schemas that will be retrieved using REST Resource Discovery process. From the Data menu, select Schema Discovery submenu and then REST Schema Discovery. Configure the URL using the name of the machine where Rational ClearQuest is installed, along with the port and the data services path. Select the authorization type and provide the credentials needed. Rename the schema to project and press the Next button. The key for resource discovery process is the ageref attribute. Each element that is discoverable has such an attribute, and its value is the URL to that specific resource. Select the ClearQuest adapter and click Next. From the XML schema tree, select the dbset element and check the ageref attribute. Then go to the Next Wizard screen. Discover the available databases from the selected repository. Select the SAMPL database and click Next. From the schema, select the database Records Queries Query element and check again the ageref attribute. At this moment, we have discovered the project resource. After pressing the Finish button, the schema will be automatically added to our template. You can access the elements and attributes from Schema View from the left side of the screen. The second schema, named Defects, will be obtained in the same way. Step into the REST Schema Discovery wizard and use the same machine name and port. Name the schema to defects and provide the same authentication type and credentials needed. The same steps must be performed to discover the defects resource. Select the ClearQuest adapter and then press Next. Select a repository and then the same database name SAMPL and click Next. This time we will choose the ageref attribute from Public Queries element in order to get the defects data. On the last wizard page, select all defects of type query and press Finish to download the schema. Both data source schemas are now added to our template and are ready to be used to create queries in order to obtain the desired data. The name of the project will be displayed in the first page of the document using the variable assignment mechanism. Create a container that will hold the assignment and the query. From the project schema, expand the result element and drop the project element into the container. Add a variable named project name. This is an internal variable since it is used for internal calculations. Once the query is set for an element, the user can access all the elements from that query. In that way, we can assign an attribute value to project name variable. In Data Expression tab, assign the name attribute to project name. The title page will be displayed on a separate page and will contain the static text Defect Tracking and the project name. Create a paragraph and add inside it two other paragraphs, one for the text and the other one for the variable. Insert a text element from the palette and set its value to Defect Tracking and press OK button. Drop the variable from the outline view into the second paragraph. A text element will be created having the variable as value. Set the title style for the first paragraph using the contextual menu. This will set the font size to 16, font family to Arial, and bold property to true. Also set the before spacing to 300 to center the title section. Add a table with 7 rows and 6 cells. Add a special container inside the table that will hold a query and all the rows. Select each row and move them inside the container. You can read more about special containers on our website. From the defects data source, drag the defects query and drop it into the container. In this way, we can access all the attributes. You can set names to each element in RPE. Use this feature to set names on each row from the table. For the first row, set the ID info in the name property from metadata feature. Add a text element inside the first cell and double-click it to set its value. Go in the Data Expression tab, expand the Attributes node, and select the ID attribute. For the first cell, in the Properties view, set call span to 6 that will merge this cell with the rest of the cells from the row. To set the bold property to true on elements, you can use the shortcut key as in Microsoft Word, the contextual menu, or write the value directly in the Properties view under the Font feature. The second row will be named Defect Info and will contain the state, priority, and severity for the defects from the ClearQuest. In the first cell of the row, add a text with state as value. In the second cell, add a text and set the state attribute from the Data Expression tab under the Attributes node. In the third cell, add a static text, priority. In the fourth cell, we will set the priority element from the data source schema using drag and drop. Select the second option, Use as value, in the dialog pop-up. The last two cells of the row will contain the severity data. Add a static text with severity and drop from the defect schema the severity query. Select Use as value option like before. Each static text will have the bold property set to true. You can use the shortcut key for each text. The third row will be named Headline Info and will display the headline data for the defects. Add a static text element from the contextual menu and set headline as value. Drop the headline query into the second cell and select Use as value option in the Select Context dialog. Set the call span property to 5 to merge the second cell with the rest of the cells from the row. Set the bold property to true for the static text elements. The fourth row will be named Owner Info and will extract data from Defects Owner. Look into the Defects data source schema for the Owner element and drag and drop it into the row. In the first cell, set the static text owner and in the second cell the full name query. Select the second cell and set the call span to 5 and the bold property to true for the owner text element. For the fifth row, set the name property to submit info. Insert a text element and set submitter as value. Drop the submitter query on the row and the full name on the second cell. Select the second option, Use as Value, and RPE will create a text and set the value to the corresponding query. In the fourth cell, add a static text, Submit Date. From the Defects data source schema, drag the Submit Data element and drop it into the fifth cell. Choose the second option, Use as Value. Set the bold property to true for both static text and call span to 2 for cells containing the text with assign queries. The last row that will contain the extracted data will be named Description Info and will contain only the description for each defect. Add in the first cell from this row the static text description, and in the second cell, drag the description query from the defect schema. Set the call span property to 5 for this cell to merge it with the rest of the cells from the current row. For the last row, set only the call span property to 6 for the first cell to add some space between defects. Now let's create a master page to handle the header and the footer. Name the master page MP defect and press OK. You can see a new tab for the master page in the editor. In the header we will have a table with a static text and the project name, and in the footer we will add the page number. Add 2 paragraphs in the first cell of the table to hold the text. Insert 2 text elements in the paragraphs, one with the application lifecycle management and the other one with defect tracking. From the outline view, drag the variable project name and drop it into the second cell. In the footer, insert the static text page, a page number element, the text with of as value, and a total pages number element. Center the paragraph that holds these elements using paragraph alignment in the Properties view. Set the Table out of it property to out of it to window, and resize the fit content to false for the header element. Select the first cell of the header and align it top left. Also set the cell width to 325. Go back in the template content to apply the master page to the table element. You can use the contextual menu or the properties view to do this assignment. Save your template and make a run to view how your output document looks like. Before doing this, switch to Launcher Perspective to configure the data sources. Data sources are configured in the same way we did for downloading the schema. We will discover the REST URL using REST Resource Discovery Wizard. Configuring a REST data source requires providing the URL of the resource and optionally a username and a password. The username and password are needed if the resource is at a secure location. You can skip this process if you know the base URLs to configure the data sources. Perform the same steps you did for getting the schema for the data sources. This time no schema will be downloaded. Once you have identified the resource, click Finish. The wizard completes and the URL you have discovered is displayed in the configuration window. Click OK in the Configuration Data Source dialog. The REST data configuration process is completed and the Gather information is filled in the Document Specification window. After both data sources are configured with the proper URL, we need to fill in the credentials. Now we can start the publishing process. While the documents are generated, a set of messages are displayed in the console and also in the progress dialog. During the generation process, you can choose to run in the background and continue your work in RPE. After the process is finished, a result dialog appears and you can access the generated documents. Open the Word output and take a look at the results. The first page contains only the project name. The rest of the document contains all the desired information organized in a table. Each page, except the title page, has a header with text and the project name in the right side. In the footer, you can see the current page number and the total pages number. More videos, tutorials, and information about Rational Publishing Engine can be found on www.reportingarena.com.